Episode 774. One can never have too many talented people. When he heard Mi Tianzun describe this knight in such extraordinary terms, Zhang Yu immediately grew interested. As for how to properly transfer him over, that was far too simple. No need for elaborate schemes, just extend an invitation in the name of dominating ambition. Tyrannical ambition and heaven-destroying guild, the two weren't even on the same level. Any glory player, even if they weren't a fan of a particular team, would rarely turn down an invitation from a guild like that, unless they were a casual player who preferred to stay guildless. But since Invincible Handsome had already joined the Mi Guild, that reason obviously didn't apply. Now Zhang Yu was just worried that this guy might be a glory fan with a grudge against Team Tyranny. For instance, if he were an excellent era fan, he might genuinely treat an invitation from tyrannical ambition like a passing cloud.
What do we know about this person's background?
Zhang Yu asked the Annihilation Heavenly Venerable.
Not sure. He only joined the guild today. According to him, he hasn't played in a long time. Judging by the gear he's wearing, that does seem to be the case.
Extinguishing Heaven Sovereign replied. With that, Zhang Yuye had no more questions. He waited in his mind. Did this MT, so highly praised by the extinguished Heavenly Lord, really warrant him going to invite them personally? After thinking it over, Zhang Yu decided to err on the side of caution. He trusted Mi Tianzun, but Mi Tianzun had only been through one dungeon with this person. There was no way he'd vouch for their strength. They haven't even seen how deep his skills go, and they've already invited him into the guild with all due ceremony. If his actual strength turned out to be nothing special, that would be a real joke. With that thought, Zhang Yu finally found a branch guild leader and had him take charge of the matter. Though it was just a branch guild, it was one publicly recognized by Tyranny, a guild that counted as part of their faction. Its strength couldn't compare to Tyranny's main guild, but it wasn't anything to be ashamed of. Otherwise, Tyranny's reputation would take a hit. Those who received public recognition like this would get direct support from tyrannical ambition, so resources weren't really an issue. For an ordinary player, jumping from a guild of Mi Tian's caliber into a branch of a club-level guild like this was practically a one-way ticket to the top. In the game world, things always move fast. Before long, the invitation to Invincible was already sent out. Yi Shu stared at the invitation from the fourth sub-guild of tyrannical ambition for a good long while. He hadn't expected the drama to unfold this quickly. He'd only just joined Mi Tian and run a couple of dungeons, thought he hadn't laid enough groundwork yet, and now it was already maxed out? Even though he had only been in the guild for a day and had run a dungeon with their main tank, drawing the attention of the guild leader, Mi Tianzun himself, who came to check him out, and even though they had acknowledged his skill, Ishu never imagined he'd be recommended to tyrannical ambition so quickly. It really was hard to wrap one's head around. If it weren't for Crispy Bean throwing a tantrum and threatening to quit the guild, Extinguishing Heavens wouldn't have been in such a rush to recommend him upward, even after seeing Invincible Super Cool's displayed skill level. The truth was, Kudu had forced Mi Tianzun into a corner. He had to choose between two people he couldn't afford to lose. Kudu he wouldn't give up, and Wudi Zhujunlang was clearly no pushover either. So, to cover all his bases, he found a roundabout way to keep Wudi Zhujunlang on the team. After all, safeguarding the interests of tyrannical ambition was the main objective of Mi Tianzun's work. As for Yishu, he wasn't a god. How could he possibly foresee all of that? Even though he could tell Crispbean wasn't exactly thrilled with him, they'd only just met. How was he supposed to know the guy was so petty he'd threaten to quit the guild just to scare the leader?
I guess that's the principle of gold always shining through.
Yi Shu and Chen Guo were talking like this, and Chen Guo was left utterly speechless. Sure, he was a piece of gold, but she really wished this piece of gold wouldn't be so direct about stating the fact that he was gold. Couldn't he leave that kind of line for someone else? Would it kill him?
So that's all it takes to get in?
When it came down to it, Chen Guo was pretty speechless. Thinking back on all the trouble she'd gone through just to join the Jade Dynasty Guild herself, she couldn't help but sigh. Comparing yourself to others is just asking for frustration. Chen Guo was still wallowing in her dismay, but Ye Shu had already started negotiations. The guy was bluntly asking why they'd suddenly taken an interest in poaching him. Of course, the guild members couldn't exactly explain Zhang Yu's real intentions, so all they could say was that someone from the Mi Tian guild had heard through the grapevine that he was pretty skilled and wanted to see him in action.
Who's this friend of yours? Got a good eye, huh?
That was Yi Shu's reply.
Yes.
The other party echoed in silent agreement. As for this invincible most handsome, living up to his name with such arrogance, this person had no desire to comment further. To be honest, he didn't like Invincible's personality.
Hey, since you think so highly of me, I can hardly say no, can I? Face has to be mutual, right? Don't you think?
Right.
The person on the other end was starting to regret taking this job.
So what now? I quit the guild? What's your plan over there?
If you quit the guild, you'll have to wait 5 days before you can join another. But that's fine, you can just come run dungeons with us during those 5 days.
Well, if that's how it is.
Yi Shu put on a show of reluctantly agreeing, but he quit the Mi Tian guild the very next second. Came in a flash, gone in a flash. During his half-day with the Mi Tian guild, the only impression Ye Shu left on most people was just his name. As for his dominant performance in the dungeon, word hadn't spread yet. For those who had just joined the guild, quitting again right away wasn't something many people talked about, but the few who had already dealt with them immediately took notice. Qiudu was over the moon. The guild leader hadn't explained anything, but the message was clear enough. As for Chris Bean, he acted as if nothing had happened, keeping his mouth shut about quitting the guild. Over at Mi Tianzun's camp, word arrived that the negotiations with the fourth branch had gone through. He was quite pleased with the outcome. As for who was left fuming, that honor fell entirely to Xin Lu, the honest girl. The moment she saw the system message about Wudi Zhu Junlang quitting the guild, she immediately got annoyed. She pressed Mi Tianzun on one side while turning to question Wudi Zhu Junlang on the other.
I didn't say anything. I'm still figuring out how to handle this. And Mi Tianzun's playing dumb.
Then why did he leave the guild without even saying a word?
How would I know? He didn't say a word to me either.
Mi Tianzun kept up his act, but Xin Lu didn't reply anymore, because he'd already gotten a response from Wudi Zhu Junlang. Invincible Handsome told her that someone from Dominating Ambition had invited him, so he was heading to the fourth branch of Dominating Ambition. Xin Lu was taken aback, so he had been overthinking it after all. If this was the man's own decision, then Xin Lu had nothing more to say.
Oh.
In the end, Xin Lu only replied with that single word.
We'll party up again sometime.
Yi Shu replied. His impression of the team leader he'd briefly met in Mi Tian actually not bad.
Oh.
Xin Lu answered, still just that simple. After that, Yi Shu didn't say much else. The fourth branch of Tyrannical Ambition had already called him to run dungeons. There were plenty of level 70 dungeons to choose from. If he wanted, he could grind non-stop for 24 hours a day and never run out. The moment they met at the arranged spot, Invincible and Handsome's gear alone was enough to intimidate the fourth branch of Tyrannical Ambition. At this point, Invincible and most Handsome's equipment hadn't changed at all since he first joined the Mi Tian Guild. As for the Guardian Dragon Axe he'd obtained from the ancient Dragon Abyss, Ye Shu kept his word. After that dungeon run, he handed it right back to Xin Lu, treating it as a party drop. As for the second dungeon run, it didn't drop any knight equipment either. So, after 2 dungeon runs, Ye Shu came away with nothing in terms of gear. But honestly, Yi Shu looked down on the gear from the ancient Dragon Abyss even more than Qiudu did. So what if you got the gear from the ancient Dragon Abyss? Could it possibly be more eye-catching than this? The strength of the 4 branches of the Overlord Guild far surpassed that of the Annihilation Guild, so Wudi Zhu Junlang's gear made an even bigger splash here than it had back there.